And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Today we are looking at a brand new game by Plague Island Games, a 1 to 2 player game on the Cold War, the era that takes place between 1946 and 1991. World War II has ended. The two allies, the USA and the USSR, who were allies through the war, now are having tensions and creates the Cold War. Basically because the leaderships on both sides, both Truman and Stalin, do not really care for each other. They don't trust each other. The United States decides that they need to contain the red problem, and therefore the USSR needs to play catch-up with the USA. USA is ahead of manufacturing in other areas, and the USSR is now taking countries into the communist fold, where there were promises made where they would not do that. And this all plays out over a number of scenarios, over a number of turns in this game, 2 minutes to midnight. Can you, as the USA, contain the USSR, or you, as the USSR, can you achieve the 5-year plans in order to survive the Cold War, or push it forward? Let's see what this game has to show us in the box.
Dum dum, beetle dum dum, beetle dum dum, beetle dum dum. There was a turtle by the name of Burt, and Burt the Turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered, ducked and covered.
So here we are, 2 minutes to midnight. This is a prototype copy that was sent to me by Stuart Tonge, and we're ready to open this and give you a little bit of an unboxing. Now, it is already punched and sorted, so we'll be looking at the components here. First up, there are tons of components. In fact, you may have seen that the box doesn't really fit everything in there. I do hope we get a little bigger box when the production comes along. This is a prototype copy, so everything you see here is going to be prototype. But I had a quick look at it yesterday when I first got here, and these are freaking amazing for a prototype. So there was lots of love given to this game for a prototype. I thought it was a production copy myself, but it is a prototype. First, we have some wooden counters, or wooden tokens. The round wooden tokens represent control of countries. So as we move the blue or red scourges across the various countries, we are going to control them in some way, perhaps. These are influence cubes, and these will be used both, again, we have blue for the US, red for the communists or the USSR. These are influence cubes, and they'll be used to help us use factories and resources within the countries themselves. Of course, we have some dice, and red and blue. We have chits, tons of chits. Now, these chits are amazing. Now, I don't know what they're going to be like in production, but these are laser cut chips, and they are not wood. So they did a bang-up job here. Now, they are a really good chit. This is an occupation chit, and we'll talk more about some of these chits when we get to the setup, because some of them are already set up. The first scenario that we play through, it actually shows East Germany and West Germany as occupied. Of course they are. East Germany being the Soviets and West Germany being the US. We have more chits. More influence cubes, but it looks a bit black. I'm not sure what all the influence cubes are. I have not played this yet. We have tokens and markers for various bits of board. There are two main boards here. The map itself, of course, and then a sideboard which controls the various aspects of technologies and the balance of military. And there's various military balances like nuclear, navy, conventional, and we'll see that on the board. Actually, everything pretty much fits on the board. Okay, there's even more tokens. It would take an hour to go through all the tokens and show you each individual token. We have solo cards. So in the if you play the solo game, you have a number of solo cards, and these cards are great. I mean, they're not flimsy. They are obviously good quality cards that were made for the prototype. Now, the AI bot it's not really an AI bot. Most of the cards, as you'll see, let's see if we can find an example of one here. Like here we are, Blue House Bird. Now, I don't know this one. It looks like it's a Game 5 card too. Have dice rolls. So in a lot of cases, you're going to flip a card, and then you're going to roll the dice, and you're going to do whatever that action is. However, there are money cards. And when the money card comes up, this is where you then, as the Soviets or the U.S., decide on what you want to do. Do you want to invest in technology? Do you want to put a spy down? Do you want to do something else? There's a sheet here somewhere that's going to tell us all those actions. And so there's plenty of cards, and we're going to be going through the cards as I set up the game, of course. Here is the main board. You can see there is a ton of stuff in the box, and here's an errant. Again, this is passed on to me from another reviewer, so we'll just put that tidy away. So let's see if we can fit the board down here. I've unfolded the board, and this board is absolutely huge. You can see you're seeing some stuff over here on the floor, and I'm going to have to adjust my camera angles here a little bit when I get to a play. But this game is huge. This map has got to be 36 inches, if not 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going with 36 inches. Yeah, 36 by 24. So this is a huge board. The player boards are on the board. That's amazing. So they've really done a great job to minimize table space here. The one different thing what I'll show you here is that they've included, again, prototype, but you can see that they're both on the same side. However, if I can get it out of the box, if you're playing the other side, you can actually do this. So they've given you an extra board so that you can face off against the board. So that's really neat. This is the U.S. side, and the U.S. side plays very differently than the Soviet-Russian side, which is great. So there's a very asymmetrical feel, a historical aspect of this game that isn't in other games. And this makes this game, I think, important for a learning perspective of what was actually going on in the Cold War. All these chits, so this is not an easy game. This is a complicated game, though the rules aren't too bad. They're well spelled out. And one of the things I will tell you is that there is a run-through that they take you through where you can actually put the cards in the order they tell you and just draw them and just follow along learning what to do. And I'm going to highly recommend that. I started doing that a little bit this morning, but I wanted to open this up while it's still cool in my little studio, because the studio gets really warm through the day here. So that's kind of neat. In terms of what else is in the box, let's just keep on going here. So we have that. We have the various cards of support. So what do we have here? So this is the solo bot. So there is a solo mode. Basically, a solo mode is very similar to play, where you're going to just play the cards. And then when there's a decision point, which is what they could use with the money cards. So the money cards really is the one, all of a sudden, where you really have to try to figure out, based on what's happened with the event cards, what you need to do to forward the agenda of either the United States or Soviet Russia. In the solo version, and I showed you those cards earlier on, what's going to happen is you're going to play a card during the money event to randomly decide what the Soviets or the U.S. is going to do, and which is interesting. However, they do state that they say that when you're playing a game with the bot, if you feel that the Soviets would like to do something else, just do it. I think there's a lot of interesting play, even if you played two-handed both sides. I think there's a lot of things if you keep saying, I'm going to do the best moves I can do and try to do the end. So I think will be a fun game, not only with just the bot or what happens with the money cards, but when you play yourself. So that's the solo reference card. What do we got here? We have the aggression. I don't know what these are. So this is the coup. So, these are the rules. Interesting. Interesting way of doing the rules. And there we are. There's the 5 scenarios. So each one will tell you how to set up the boards. So here is the learn to play introductory scenario. And then we have scenario 2, a new era, 1956, 1966. Soviet steamroller. So it looks like there's at least 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 scenarios. There could be more with the actual. Oh, there's the rules. Interesting. So this is the preview version. This is the second board. There's 2 boards. I don't know how I am going to preview this. I do have a side table. I'm going to have to use it over here, I guess, and probably use some photography and to overspace it, because I do not have room on my main table here. This is the strategic outlook, and you can see where the balance cards are, the intel assessments. There's our technology, our turn markers, so you can play the campaign. You can tech theft, computers, the bunkers, strategic weapons. Again, at this point, I don't know how this all works. I have not been through this game, so we're going to give this a quick go through. First, I'm just going to sort of look at it the way they've presented it to us, with going through some of the turns quickly, just to give you a flavor of the game, because I don't want this to be overly long. And then what I'm going to have to do is we'll go back, and once I learn the game a little better, is I'm going to do a solo run. But for now, these are huge. What a wonderful preview copy this is. Other than the fact that, they don't have the black backgrounds, but this is as close to production as I've seen a game in itself. But that is what's in the box. The next is the setup, and I'm going to have to wrestle with that after I have some coffee, and I'm going to be right back. A couple things I'd like to say is I remember, I am north of 60, my age, went to school in the 60s, and I remember the drills. The drills in the school where they would say, okay, the siren would go off and we would dive under the tables. Now, in reality, of course, being a kid, you go, oh my God, and you jump under the tables and you cover your head and you go, and you do what the teacher says. But that was more for comfort. When you look at it today, and I've watched some of the propaganda videos over the last day or two, if there was a nuclear bomb that went off in the area, it wouldn't matter if I was under a table or not. Of course, when you're young, you don't know that. But I lived through some of this Cold War, and I certainly remember some of the silly propaganda things that I saw in the schools. And so this game has a lot of meaning for me personally. So I hope you do enjoy it. I hope you do back it. And we're going to come back with this game set up somehow on this table. And we're going to go through a few turns to teach you some of the things that are going to go on here. And hopefully you're going to enjoy what you see. Thank you very much. Let's get down to setting the game up. So the board is ready to go. We have set up. We have the U.S. in blue, the Soviet Russia in red. You have seen that we have set up the learning area of the game, and we are playing the first scenario, which is the learn to play. And you can see right here in the map, this is how we've set it up using this plan. Now I will say it is really small, and I had a little bit of trouble trying to figure out some of what the units went there, but in the end we made it. Over here, this is what the initial board looks like, and I'll show a picture of that a little closer and replace this. But this is the initial board on the other smaller board, which contains the turn marker, the strategic outlook, the technology research, and a few other areas. And we'll talk more about that when we get to that. We have our various reference guides. So we have tokens right over here off screen. I just don't have any room to bring them on screen for you. You can see the influence tokens on the board, the red and the blue. So we have influence in some of these countries. You can see that some of these countries are occupied with the occupation token, which is the little token that looks like that. Now remember, these are half-inch by half-inch tokens. Very reminiscent of the war games that I played back in the late 60s, 70s. This, I would say, is a grand strategic game. It is a world view. You can see we have some spies, Russian spies, we have a US spy, we have some technology theft going on here in England. We have some reparations that we have to pay back. We can see that areas in both Germany and Sweden are under repair. We have some armored units in Ukraine and Belarus and Estonia, Latvia. We see we have some unrest already in the USSR, not surprising, as well as 2 areas to build on a spy. And that's the starting position, as well as we have a pool of forces ready to go that we will be drawing upon throughout the game. The national debt starts at 0, I believe. I can't really read that there. But the national debt is down here. The national debt grows with every turn. And that is the ability of the United States to print money. Today it's trillions and trillions of dollars. Back then it was, 25 billion. I'm not sure historically. Over here you'll see where the president's decisions are. So right now the president's decisions sitting at 4 and 5, which are reroll 1 influence roll in a non-communist government and reroll 1 trade roll. So that's how the president influences. And we have spies, armored units. This is right at the end of the war. We don't really have much military buildup. We have their leadership style. What's important here is their 5-year plan. Their 5-year plan is for farming. So we are, as the Russians, very interested in getting our farming technology up. And we're probably going to look to try to steal it. And so we're going to try to get spies. We already have one in the United States. And the United States is considered to have farming, so they very easily can try to grab some farming from the U.S. as well as try to research it. They can also try to research other things. As long as there is a predecessor that they can steal from, like in the United States, they have nukes, satellites, not nukes, they're ahead, industry, Navy, land and air. Now they are behind in the space race already. So Russia's a little bit ahead in the satellite. And that is basically the setup of the game. So politically, this is a very political game. And we're just going to roll through this. Now, I'm going to break away a little bit from the walkthrough. So what we're going to do here is play the cards in the order of which they suggest. However, we are going to actually roll the dice. I think it just makes for a better game as we try to learn the game at the same time as we play the game, and give you a real flavor how the dice rolls affect how this game will be played. So let's start the game. The first card is Atomic Energy Act. So we're going to roll a 1d6, and if we get 4+, if no Soviet spies is in the UK, then we're going to deny the US. But unfortunately, as you can see here, there is no spy in the UK. The spy token would clearly look like this one over here. Let's bring that up closer to you to what a spy token actually looks like. I am sorry for the view that you're looking at. I don't have a lot of space, and it's the only way I can show the whole board. I wish there was another way for me to do this, but this board is huge. Okay, if I have a spy, a Soviet spy, which we don't have, it'd be +2. Otherwise, if I don't make the rolls, otherwise the U.S. is going to give them the nukes. The Russians are going to be mad, but we won't lose influence. So let's roll the dice. We're going to roll a 1d6. I roll a 4, which you can barely see. If no Soviet spies in the UK, US denies nuclear technology exchange to UK. Remove 1 US influence in the UK. So we have lost our influence in the United Kingdom. What that means is that on our track here, we are going to lose 2 on the track. 1, 2. Just to point out, I did make a mistake right here. There should be a UK damage token here for -4. I've corrected that mistake. So that is easy. So that is as easy as the first turn is. Now the card itself, and we'll show you this card, has a keyword remove. That means we are going to remove this card from the game. The importance of this is that each turn we're going to introduce different cards through the game as we move through the different eras of the Cold War. So we're just going to put that to the side, off the screen a little bit, and then that is the entire turn. Just follow along as we play. You can see I've sorted the tokens into these little cups, making life easier. So we will now just follow the bouncing ball. So we're going to pick up the next card, and this is Popular Unrest. So if we roll 1 to 2, there is no effect. 3 to 4, both sides must place 1 unrest on an occupied country. 5, 6, both sides may place 1 unrest on any country. So this is you can tell by the blue that this is a U.S. event. We will roll the dice. It is a 4. A 4 says we both must place an unrest token in an unoccupied city. Here are unrest tokens. You can tell the unrest tokens are a red fist. And there's 2 of them. The Americans are going to put theirs in West Germany, and the Russians are going to put theirs in East Germany. Now, we are following the rules on the walkthrough. However, everything that's happened so far is what's supposed to happen in the walkthrough. So we are inadvertently following along, and that card said to remove. Remember, the key words are remove. Next up is a Berlin blockade. Now, you can see up here it says he may do this. And at the end, we will remove it. I think as a Russian player this early on, I would go for it. So we're going to roll a dice. We roll a 1. Violence in Berlin. Place 1 unrest in US and USSR. Then apply 3. Okay, so we're going to get another unrest token. Now, the rule around unrest is that when there is, well, depending on the home countries, but when there's 2 or more unrest, in other words, 3 unrest is going to have a crisis situation. So you don't ever want to get a unrest above 2 normally. Now, there are some countries like West Germany that allow, you can see there's a little red square there, they're allowed to have 4 unrest. So there's a little more unrest in some of these countries like East and West Germany because we've just coming off the war and they're building. And then it says, apply 3. U.S. rolls back Germans' reforms. U.S. must remove 1 influence in West Germany. The U.S. may take a money owed counter to treat as a +4 result. So we're going to take a money owed token. I don't know what that means right now. I'm assuming at some point during the game we will understand what that does. That gives us a +4 result because we really don't want to remove influence. Add 1 unrest in the USSR, which is now we can see that the USSR is in crisis. Remove any 1 unrest and add 1 U.S. investment in West Germany. So we'll be able to remove this unrest, and we're actually going to be able to make an investment in West Germany. So we'll take our investment token, And this is what an investment token looks like. Oh, right up there. And we'll take some pictures as we go along. Perfect. And again, we will remove the card. So a money owed token is like me forward spending money. So when a money card is drawn, I have to pay back my money owed. If I don't pay back my money owed by the time this deck is gone, there will be penalties during the end of turn phase. And a turn is basically going through this deck. Now we're not going to go through this deck fully. I just want to get enough turns so that you can see a few things going on. That wasn't a bad turn for us in terms of we didn't lose the influence like we thought. We did get an investment. The problem is now that we have a money card, a lack of a money card, it might negatively affect what we're going to do. We're going to have to get rid of that money card at some point during this game. So we are going to take the next card, and it is a Soviet famine. And we are going to roll this dice. If we get a +3 or more, we're going to put 2 unrest tokens. Now, we are in trouble here if we have to go to the USSR. So we're going to roll a token. We roll a 6. We are going to put 2 unrest tokens in the USSR or Ukraine. If Ukraine is in civil war, instead of unrest, add 1 civil war marker. Ukraine is already in civil war, so it's going to make it harder for them to clear that. The problem is we don't want a crisis here either. So I think what we're going to have to do is put one of the markers in the USSR, and we're going to have to add 1 civil war token in the Ukraine. This is basically confiscating food. This game is very, very busy, as you can see, all the things that's going on here at the moment. And this is going to ebb and flow throughout the game. We are ready for the next card. Oh, this is a U.S. money card. Now, the U.S. has a choice here. Now we can play the money owed, and I know there's at least another 1 or 2 of those cards in here. But he is in an excellent position to clear something out here in West Germany and make things a little bit better for him. Now, you can notice the keyword cycle down here. This means he will be back next turn. So we would just put this off to the side, and we would cycle that card as opposed to remove it from the game. So the U.S. has decided to take 1 investment and put it into West Germany, and you'll see why we're going to do that in a moment. And we certainly want to do our influence roll again. So we're going to invest in the UK. We're going to take care of that money owed at some point during the game before the next turn. And then we're going to roll the dice. So the way investments work is I can actually clear and make an investment in West Germany. So for these 2 investments, we'll add a modifier to the dice and try to invest in the first destruction. So we're going to rebuild the manufacturing in West Germany. So we're going to roll the dice, and we need a 4 or more, basically. Now we roll a 1. That's unfortunate. Now, we don't lose our investment, but we don't help at all our cause at this point. So that would be the end of the turn for the U.S. Then we're going to flip the next card over, and you can see I'm hugging the rules tightly here. We have Soviet money. So they do the same thing. And what you didn't see is, and I should put that up here, there are a number of actions that we can take. And there they are there. There are a number of actions we can take. And I took the third one, which is place 2 investments out of this list. These reference cards are really great. They spell out exactly what you need to do. Now it is the Russians' turn. With the Russians, they've decided that their best course of action, which is place 1 spy and make either an influence roll or place 1 investment. So the Russians are going to place 1 spy from their force pool into the USSR because they have a crisis going on here. Now they too now are going to make an investment rather than influence. There's the investment. As we know from the rules, we can use a 1-to-1 to remove an investment. We'll remove a unrest token. we made that investment. Now we're going to turn over one of our spies. Now what we're going to do is roll 2 dice. And as long as we roll a 6 or more with the 2 dice, so as long as we remove a 5 or more, and you can see this is the exhausted side. There is a black and a white side. You can just barely make it out there. So at this point we have 3. So we have 3, and we certainly don't want 3 because we certainly don't want to trigger any unrest and civil wars and coups. So the other way of getting rid of a unrest is to use one of your spies. This represents the propaganda machine. And so what we would do is we flip over our spy to the exhausted side, and we would roll 2 dice. As long as we get above a 5+, which is a 6, we're able to remove one of the unrest tokens. And that is the end of the game. We have averted a crisis. That is the end of our turn. Don't mind the dogs. I have 6 of them, so occasionally they do bark. The next up is a military export. It is really just a specialized money card. If we're embargoed, this card does nothing on the roll of a 1, but we are not embargoed at all. So what we're going to do is select the option that allows us to invest in 3 different countries as long as they have a 0 or 1. And the 3 countries that we're going to invest in are basically going to be the Ukraine, Estonia, and East Germany. So we're going to start thinking about getting rid of some of what's going on here. We're going to try to rebuild our East Germany if we can. And that is how he spent his turn with the military export. We've decided to invest in 3 different countries that have no net worth. You can tell the net worth. There's a 1. If there's 2, there's 2, 2. So it's the number of factories, basically. And that is a cycle card. The next one is War Reparations. So we are going to make reparations. So we're going to roll the dice and see what happens. We're going to roll a 1d6. We roll a 2. We're going to cycle it. If it's turn 2, we remove. So this gets started, and we don't make any reparations. So we don't actually get to remove any reparation counters. That's these unrest counters here. That's really awful for Russia. Again, you can see how each of these cards influences the board as we go along here. Okay, now the next card we have the Red Army. The Soviet player may pay $2 to increase the conventional balance track by 1 or gain $1 placed into the deck. So 1 money card. So basically he may pay 2 money cards. And after this, the Soviets can place a free army in the Civil War of place 1 investment adjacent to the USSR if advantaged, or better on the conventional balance track. On the conventional balance track, we actually have is major, so they are advantaged, and I will show you that in a moment. We're going to roll the dice. So we're going to roll the dice on this one. We roll a 6, which is good for us. So on a 6, so there's a couple things you can do. We can take a money owed token, and we can actually increase the conventional balance track, which we really don't need to do because we're already at a major advantage there. Or we can place a money card into the deck. Now, for the purposes of this game, I am not putting a money card into the deck because I want to just roll through the deck as it stands. So what normally you would do is you would take this card, we would take a money card from a stack of money cards that are this thick, and we're going to put one of them in there, which is a great advantage. Then next we're going to go, after this, the Soviets can place a free army into a civil war or place 1 investment adjacent to the USSR if advantaged, or better on the conventional balance track. So in this case, he would probably want to go for a free army. We've got some civil unrest right here, and I think that's what he would do. And that gets cycled. So we've added the extra army, and we are ready to go. This is a Navy arms race. This is a U.S. card. It cycles, and it says, if the U.S. has naval advantage, plus place one investment in either a 0 or 1 worth company. Then the U.S. may place one naval tech cube on a die roll of +3. If the die roll is a +5, the U.S. may place one cube on any tech. The Soviet player may place one naval tech cube on a die roll of +4. Now, we haven't talked about tech. So in the tech tree, you will place a cube of your color, either the blue or the red, and that symbolizes your investment into technology. When you get to 2 cubes in that technology, you'll be able to actually gain that technology. So the first thing that the U.S. can do is they can invest into any 0 or 1 country. And I think they would like to build some influence maybe in Turkey. So you can see it's only a 1 because it only has 1 factory. Or actually Greece. They already have an investment in Greece too. So they're going to make an investment over here in Greece. You know, the civil war is going on in Greece right now. So let's invest that. Now we're going to roll our dice. It's a 6. So I can put a cube on any technology. As the Americans, I've decided to invest in the satellite technology. And because we rolled a 4 or more, we can invest. Because we rolled a 6, which is more than 4, or 4 plus I should say, we have invested into the Navy technology, so we are halfway there to our first naval technology. This is a cycle card. So it's going to be brought forward into the next game. We are now going to pull the next card out, which is Civil War. This is the first card. Now, in the Civil War, we would actually have a marker down here, and we'll just grab a marker. Since the Russians have noticed that the U.S. has started investing in Greece, they're certainly going to add another civil war to Greece. The Americans want to make things harder, and so they're going to put a civil war up here in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And of course, this card is cycled for the next turn. I think that's about as far as we need to go here. It's really just follow the cards. What is next anyway? Oh, Nazi spies. Oh, let's follow through with the Nazi spies since we already looked at it. It's Russian. They'll roll a dice. They roll a 1. No effect. It's removed from the game. If they were able to actually play it, they would have been able to place a spy in Eastern Germany or any country adjacent. So this would be East Germany. They would, if they had a spy, they would probably might have been able to get rid of some unrest, perhaps, or put a spy into Germany. You know, disrupt things. One thing I didn't talk about is the connections between. On the last note, these connections. So if you have a white a white line between countries, that is a land connection versus the blue, which is a water connection. If you see a little sign like that, that's naval. And so there's it's like carrier fleets are sitting there. There's a carrier fleet off Panama, things like that. But we only concerned ourselves now for this little bit of the game. And with that, I'm going to stop playing this game now. This is a huge game. I can't. It would take me probably another 2 hours to go through this entire this deck here. I am not 100% of everything that goes on. At the end of a round, there's a bunch of things that go on. So there are 18 steps. Let's just make sure. There are 18 steps for the end of the round. You can move one. You got to move the turn marker. You even up and check to see if one player has won. By winning, basically what you're looking at is a 3 of the sickles. You can see the sickles in here, or the stars, which are here. So you'll get stars for things like how many every time you pass here, we're going to get a star. Every time we pass here, we're going to get a star. There are other things that will do that. This game is a very balanced game, so if we get a star and the Russians get a star, really nobody wins because the balance is maintained. So really, all the Russians really have to do is sort of maintain that balance and get through the Cold War and win. At the end of the day, the Americans really have to push through and tip the scales. So the Russians have sort of an advantage, I say a little bit. I suspect if it's anything like the real type of world events, what's going to happen is throughout the game, earlier on it's probably going to be a little bit better for the Russians, and later on it might be better on for the U.S. But I'm not entirely sure at this point. But I think this game is well worth checking out. Check it out on Tabletop Simulator. It is up there, though it is missing some of the reference cards, but the rules do have all of that, all the reference material that you need in terms of what you can do every turn. This is a great game. This is going to be a good backing. If you are into grand strategic games, this game is going to would be a gem in your collection. We only concerned ourselves now for this little bit of the game. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can make your mind up about backing this game. I think it's worth backing. I don't think it was particularly expensive, though I would have to check Kickstarter again. I personally did back it because I think it's worth it. And playing through it, it was very, very easy to play both sides. So you can play solo. And basically follow the cards. You roll the dice, you make the decisions, do what the cards say, and there is that deck that says if you're in this situation, it will give you the priorities of what you need to do. You would draw a card for the money card, and it would give you that priority. That would be a little bit more random, but again, they suggest that if you think that's a better move, like if you're in crisis over here, the last thing you want to do is, well, let's invest over here, in Egypt. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because I'm unrest, and if you let the unrest go, that could be a coup, and that could be a major loss situation. But thanks very much for joining in. My name is Harry Jacobs. If you like what you saw, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you would. And if you want to see more of this type of content in the future, or be notified when I put more content up, please hit the bell. And that is the end of 2 minutes to midnight. Please remember to duck and cover.
Briefly, a few facts about Fallout.